right, and here we go. So we're off. First thing we're going to be buying a hammer. Then we're going to be going to our equipment menu and turning on the memory cursor, auto run, and speeding up text speed. This memory cursor is key to doing our equipment glitch, as is that hammer. We're going to be changing that hammer into 5 sets of Knight's Armors. Knight's Armor is equipment that we can usually not get till much later in the game. It's also an expensive piece of armor that we'll be able to sell for a lot of money. So I'm making 1 set for each character and then 1 to sell. And we're going to sell that piece and going to use it to buy lots of gear here at the very beginning. It's going to be most of our items for the run. Going to get a stack of potions, stack of Phoenix Down antidotes. Later on, we will also be needing to buy some gold needles and some ethers, but that's not going to be immediate. So the way that glitch works is kind of interesting. Every weapon in the game and every piece of armor in the game, the armor being shield, armor, helmet, or glove, has an item number associated with it in a table. So just for sake of argument, we're going to say that the hammer is weapon number 1, and the Knight's Armor is armor number 1. So if you select the weapon menu for one character, while paging over to another character's armor slot, it brings up the item ID number for whatever weapons are available as our armor options. That's what allows us to trick the game into giving us free Knight's Armors. We'll be using that extensively throughout the run to get gear that we cannot usually have at this point in the game. We'll also be using it to equip gear on characters who usually cannot equip that gear, and to duplicate gear. We'll also be able to put that gear on slots that are not normally allowed. So, as we make our way into the Chaos Shrine here, you'll see xelnas and HolySmith are going to be taking a little detour to get ourselves a leather cap. Why the leather cap? Once again, for the equipment glitch. It allows us to make a very powerful weapon called the Judgment Staff. The Judgment Staff is the second most powerful damaging staff in the game. It's our version of the cane. So we're going to be using it for the early part of the run as our main weapon. It has another use here in a minute we'll be taking a look at. But for right now, just understand it, even though it's the weakest category of weapon with a staff, it actually does a lot more damage than any swords or axes we can get at this point in the game. So as you see, we took care of xelnas we took care of Garland very, very quickly here. He's usually kind of tough for first boss of the game, but we're able to one-cycle him pretty consistently by using those Judgment Staffs. You're going to see a brief little cutscene here, followed by another brief little cutscene. And after that, we're going to get a brief little cutscene. But actually, overall, this is not a very cutscene-heavy run. The first Final Fantasy does not have a whole lot of cutscenes. Now, xelnas made a small mistake there. He tried walking away, and the princess called him back to give him the loot. And HolySmith walked over to the princess and talked to her to get the loot. That saved yourself a text box and a little bit of slow walking versus trying to walk away and having her call you back. And here, xelnas currently on one of our early cutscenes here. This is the last one for a good while. We're going to watch the building this bridge. Pay attention to the people on the bottom left of the bridge. You'll notice they're just walking around doing nothing. So it's clearly, since it's coming from the government of Cornelia, it is a government project. There are people standing around in hats not doing anything. There is no RNG manipulation in the PSP version of Final Fantasy 1. So I would like to say there is lots of RNG manipulation, but it's the game manipulating our hearts. RNG is a major factor in this game. For most players, it is the major factor in this game. It can be the difference between hour and 25-minute run and an hour 40-minute run, potentially, just depending on how your rolls go on what damage rolls bosses give you, what random encounters you get, how many random encounters you get. There's a lot of variables that are tied into RNG. So execution's a major part of this run, but so is RNG. Some people think that makes it a little less than ideal game for speedrunning. And for grinding out PBs, it is very frustrating, but it makes it really entertaining for a race game, because you can have, you know, a world record holder against someone who might be 30th ranked, and can still potentially have a very close race between them. So it makes a really good race game. Also makes for a community where we're not ultra competitive with each other simply because so much of what determines a good time is out of our control. As we walk our way over to Provoca here, we're going to be trying to avoid the forest tiles, aim for the marsh tiles, and hoping we don't get wolves. Wolves in the early part of the game are hard to run from. They get a lot of attacks in. There's lots of them at once. You tend to lose a lot of time on them. Xelnas, here at the pirate battle, we're going to see a different use for the judgment staff than just as a weapon. Let's see what happens here. So there you see his thief casting Flare, which is the most powerful attack magic spell in the game. And if you use the judgment staff, it casts Flare. Unlike item magic in some later Final Fantasy games, it does not break the judgment staff either. You get to use as much as you want for free. That's one of the reasons this game is this item is so high level. It's usually reserved in kind of a post-game super dungeon area. So that being said, we're going to try not to use it too much because it does have an 8-second animation. So we defeat the pirates and we got their ship. And we're going to sail our way down to Elfheim. This early portion of the game is a really long fetch quest. HolySmith actually swinging by the armor shop here and picking up a leather shield. That can be used to glitch a mage's staff, which gives us a fire spell that's a little faster animation than we can get from the judgment staff. Xelnas choosing not to do that. So Xelnas swinging here by Elfheim is going to pick up some gold needles for safety later in the run. HolySmith may do it now, he may do it a little later, depends. We're hoping not to need those gold needles, but if we do, there's no better time to get them. And there's a pretty good chance they'll be needed at some point. So as I said, we're on a big fetch quest this early part of the game, and right now we're on a very annoying walk, so it's a good time to talk about it. We are trying to get our ship out into the greater world. Right now we're kind of stuck in we're basically landlocked. This whole water area we're in is surrounded on all sides by land. On the west side of it, there is a 1-tile wide earthen dam that we need to blow up to create a canal. In order to do that, we have to get the dwarves some nitro powder. That nitro powder is in a chest locked behind a door that's locked by the Mystic Key. The Mystic Key is held by the Prince of Elfheim, who is currently in a coma. The only way to wake him from that coma is to give him a Jolt Tonic. Well, that Jolt Tonic is held by the witch Matoya, who currently is blind, so we need to get her Crystal Eye. But that Crystal Eye is held by the Dark Elf Prince Astos, who will only reveal himself to us if we give him the Crown of Elfheim. The Crown of Elfheim is currently locked up in the Marsh Cave, which is where we're headed right now. So the opening 20 minutes or so in this game, is a big fetch quest. And Xelnas, making good time on his way down here to the Marsh Cave. We like the Marsh Cave generally. It has a fairly low encounter rate. Occasionally, you'll even get a run-through with no encounters. That being said, you can get some rough encounters in here. I have been paralocked here. Paralysis is a scary status that we're trying to avoid generally. It can basically make your players skip their turn, and if all 4 of your characters get paralyzed, it can take a long time to get out of that paralysis. Xelnas coming up here on our first, what we call our spike tiles. They're tiles that have guaranteed encounters. In this case, it's going to be Pisco Demons. So I'm going to go ahead and Judgment Staff them. You can get between 2 and 4 Physical Demons here. You have to be careful because they hit like trucks, and if they get a critical hit like they did on the Black Mage there, it ignores our high-powered armor and can one-shot us. So unfortunately, with that Black Mage's death, it's going to take some time later from the run, because we need the Black Mage and the White Mage to level up more than other characters, especially for a grind fight we need later. And it's easier to manage that grind fight if neither the White Mage or Black Mage have died. That way they level up at the same time, so you can just kind of watch for the level up animation and know it applies to both characters. So going to be a minor time loss, but it'll be okay. Also, you'll notice xelnas is not healing his warrior or his thief to full health. That's because for the grind fight later in the game, we will need the warrior and thief to die, and there is an attack that the grind fight enemy can give us that will, if you're under about 70 hit points, will one-shot you. It's a full party attack, so we want to keep the thief and the warrior under that threshold. That way they will die to that attack when that fight comes. So both players now on the way out of the Marsh Cave. Looks like HolySmith got a little ahead there just from the random encounter luck. You're going to be seeing a lot of that most likely. A lot of kind of yo-yoing back and forth. As one player gets good encounter luck, the other gets bad. As Porcine said, there is a randomizer kind of being built up right now in the very early stages for this game. I'm really looking forward to it because, as Nirogami pointed out, this is a gorgeous, gorgeous remaster. This is how remasters should be done. The art is fantastic. The remix music is great. Big fan of this. So HolySmith getting to Astos first. Astos has a very high chance of casting Death on his first turn. If he does, we would prefer it to be aimed at the warrior or the thief, or even best, if it just misses out right. What we'd really like to see is him just do a physical attack. We're going to attack with our 2 physical characters and use the Judgment Staff on both our mages. HolySmith gets good luck there with the physical attack, so he'll most likely take this out in 1 round. xelnas also gets good luck there. And if we're really lucky, this is the last time we'll be seeing the Judgment Staff used. But that's not likely to be the case. Okay, there was Death Cast that did go to a second turn on HolySmith's screen, but he got lucky that Death did miss the Black Mage. It would have been really bad to have the Black Mage die in both of our major experience fights in the early game. So xelnas has the Crystal Eye, and HolySmith is picking it up right now. So they're gonna go find themselves the Witch Matoya. It's a big long walk back through this forest. It's gonna take a minute, so this is a good time to talk about our party formation. We are running with a warrior, a thief, a black mage, and a white mage. All of them have a very specific job. The warrior we have strictly for the equipment glitch, believe it or not for his physical characteristics. The warrior can equip more items than any other character in the game, and there are several items we need in the early parts of the run that, in order to initiate the glitch, we have to have the warrior in the party. Any character can equip anything with the equipment glitch, except the item used to initiate the glitch. So, for instance, earlier in the game, the hammer to create the knight's armor, the character initiating the glitch has to be able to equip that item. So, in the case of the hammer, the warrior or the white mage can equip a hammer, so they initiate the glitches to the other characters. There's going to be some items we have to use the warrior for, so we'll be seeing that in a little while. The thief is actually our major damage dealer. In this game, the reason the thief usually isn't a great physical attacker is because he can't equip great weapons, but he has a very high agility stat and gets a lot of attacks in per turn. Since we can equip whatever weapons we want on him, we can give him the weapons usually reserved for the warrior and the knight, and allow him to be much more powerful. So he's actually our heaviest hitter. Our black mage we have for the spells teleport and haste, which are a little different than other versions of Final Fantasy. We'll talk about that when it comes up. And the white mage we have strictly pretty much for the final battle. We're going to use her for healing. And we desperately need that because we're going to be very underleveled. The order in which our party members are standing is also important. The character in the top slot is going to receive about 50% of enemy attacks. The character in the second slot is going to receive about 25%, and the third and fourth characters are going to split 12.5% each. So we're going to keep our squishy mages, at least at this point in the game, our squishy mages, at the bottom. We're going to keep our tough warrior at the top, and our thief in the second spot. Later in the game, actually, our toughest character might actually be our white mage. But that'll come up a little later. So is this the version of Final Fantasy 1 most people run? I'd say it was. With the randomizer now for regular FF1, it's become much more popular in the last year or so. So I'm not actually sure which one has the biggest following right now. This one definitely is more beginner friendly. There's only one glitch we use, and that's the equipment glitch, and you can learn to do it in like a minute. Other than that, it's just memorizing which enemies are runnable and knowing where to go. You can learn this game very quickly. My first run ever, I got under 2 hours. And, I decided to pick up the run, and like the next day I was getting in the 140s. So it's a very quick, easy learn to run, but it can just wreck you with the RNG. There is no RNG manipulation, which makes it an easier category probably than FF1 from an execution standpoint, but it also makes it much harder to get great times. Alright, so Xelnas has picked up the Mystic Key from the Prince of Elfheim after waking up the Jolt Tonic. Now he's going to be coming and picking up the Mithril Hammer. Here we go. The Mithril Hammer is going to be used to create an item called the Thieves Armlet. So this is our first agility item we're equipping. We're going to put it on all of our characters. The Thieves Armlet adds 5 agility to our characters, which will give them a better chance at running earlier in battle. It's also going to make it easier for them to run from battle, and will actually slightly increase their damage because that higher agility will allow characters to get a few more hits in per turn if they do a physical attack. Through most of the game, we're going to be equipping as best agility items we can get. So right now, the best we can get are those Thieves Armlets. It's going to make running from battles quicker. That's the big thing. We're trying to save time here. And HolySmith, you may have noticed, he actually went the left side of the castle there and backed in to go to the right side of the castle. That is actually quicker than walking across it. And Xelnas is back in Cornelia. Is going to come up and pick up the Nitro Powder, which is the final item we need in this big opening fetch quest. And we'll see if he picks up a Mithril Knife, too. Xelnas picked up a tent there. Okay, got the Mithril Knife. It looks like he just grabbed the wrong chest, but he realized it. That's good. So that Mithril Knife can be used to create black robes, which can be useful later on in the run. We'll see if he actually does that or not. I don't know if he meant to grab the Mithril Knife or not. Something some players do, some do not. So Xelnas now going to visit the dwarves while HolySmith works his way over to get the Nitro Powder and possibly the Mithril Knife. Xelnas getting in an ambush here. Something I don't think I've talked about yet is ambushes. Ambushes are what we don't want to see. When you get ambushed by the enemy, every enemy gets to take one free turn before your initial initiative rolls to determine turn order. So especially if you've got like 9 enemies, you're going to get attacked 9 times before you can get the chance to try to run. And if you've got bad rolls, like against, say, a bunch of wolves, you get 9 wolves ambush you, and then they all have better initiative rolls than your characters, then you're looking at taking 18 hits before you even get the chance to run. So ambushes are bad. Preemptives, on the other hand, are the opposite. All of your characters get 1 free turn, and it allows us to run 100% of the time. We also will be coming up pretty soon on our first unrunnable encounters. There are some random encounters that you cannot run from, and unlike later games in the series, instead of a prompt coming up saying, hey, you can't run, it'll actually not tell you anything, you'll just fail to run. And if you don't know which encounters are which, you may think you just had failed run rolls. So one of the harder things for new runners to do is learn which encounters are unrunnable, which are not. Some of them are pretty easy, but there's some less common ones and some unusual ones that are hard to remember. For instance, if you run across an ogre mage, if it's with a hellhound you can't run. If it's by itself you might be able to run, might not. It's very unusual. So you may notice we're able to skip some cutscenes and some we cannot. Any cutscene that is in the game engine, we cannot skip. If it's something that cuts out of the game engine, like a movie or something, you can skip it as soon as the fade in and fade out animations are completed. So in the case of that dam exploding, it faded into a video of the dam cracking. So as soon as that fade in completed, we were able to initiate the fade out and get out of that movie. Alright, so Xelnas is coming up on Melman. It's our favorite village. We'll be going to it 3 times. The first time is to do our favorite menu in the game, which is the Barbarian Sword menu. We're going to be buying some steel gloves. We're going to be equipping... We're going to be using the Warrior's Glove slot to glitch an item called the Barbarian Sword. As an indicator of how powerful it is, the Barbarians... You may remember, for instance, the Excalibur being a really powerful weapon in the original game. The Barbarian Sword you can usually only get from defeating the hardest version of the hardest kind of post-game Super Dungeon Super Boss, Chronodia. And so basically, by the time you can usually get it, you don't need it. You can already defeat everything in the game. It is, between its raw stats and the fact that it boosts your strength, it ends up being about triple the power of the Excalibur. So it is extremely, extremely overpowered weapon, and we're going to enjoy having it. And that menu is the main reason we have the Warrior, because that weapon cuts a lot of time off this game. Xelnas coming across a big group of shadows, same with HolySmith. Shadows are interesting. They can only give you a preemptive or an ambush. And 7 out of 8 times, that's going to be a preemptive. So generally, we like running across them until we run to an ambush. Then we really don't like it because they tend to be in large numbers. So Xelnas is now in the Cavern of Earth. This is kind of the first scary part of the run, starting with the 3rd floor. The first time you start running into a real possibility other than like a freak occurrence with the Pisco Demons early on, where your party can get wiped and there's nothing you can do about it. So most of us are going to end up saving as soon as we hit the 3rd floor here. The 3rd floor is where we run across our first unrunnables with the Pisco Demons. It is also where we start running across cockatrices, whose physical attacks will randomly proc the petrification status. If all 4 characters get petrified, for instance in an ambush by 4 cockatrices, it's game over, there's nothing you can do about it. Xelnas getting a little lost in the cave here, but he found his way. Gwendolyn, we don't have the advanced classes yet, but we will be seeing them in this run. It is worth picking them up for a couple spells and some items that are in the Citadel of Trials that we'll be picking up that make it worth the trek. HolySmith ran across a bunch of undead here. So he tries to run, but he has the Black Mage set up to use the Mage's Staff in case the run fails. Undead enemies, a lot of them do have the paralysis attached to their physical attack, so he's getting set up to wipe them out if he can, because we don't want to risk paralocking. He may have pulled up a save screen, what you may have seen, Golan. HolySmith is now at the Vampire. This is our next boss. Let's see how tough this guy ends up being. And he's dead. 1 hit. That's the Barbarian Sword for you. We will be able to one-cycle most bosses in this game. That being said, it is not a safe run. There's lots of opportunity to die. There are ambushes that can get us. Random enemies are actually a bigger threat. There are also some bosses that can just decide to kill you, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. Specifically the Lich. So now that HolySmith is on his way out, he's gonna take that Star Ruby we just picked up from the Vampire, and oh, Xelnas getting some scary cockatrices here. Okay, he's okay. We're taking that Star Ruby to give it to a giant so we can go visit a sage who will give us the item we need to continue down the Cavern of Earth. So we'll be seeing the first 3 floors of this dungeon a whole lot. This is, for many of us, our least favorite dungeon in the game because we have to come through it twice. The first 3 floors, well, the first 2 floors you see 3 times, and the 3rd floor you only see twice, but the first time you go all the way across and all the way back, so it's like seeing it 3 times. We are looking for a rare encounter here in the... Okay, HolySmith gets away, near Paralock. We're looking for ochre jellies. We do keep track of the 164 chance encounters in the game, just for fun, on a spreadsheet for the tournament. The 164 for the Cavern of Earth, and all but the bottom floor is going to be the ochre jellies. The bottom floor, it actually changes to the Earth Elementals. And so HolySmith is a little bit ahead of Xelnas right here, but it pretty much means nothing at this point. They're still easily close enough for just a few, I mean, actually 1 or 2 encounters can make the difference here and get Xelnas caught back up. So we'll see what happens. So HolySmith giving the Star Ruby to the Giant. Alright, moving on toward the Sage's Cave. And HolySmith gets an ambush. That's going to be a little bit of time for Xelnas to get back here. This giant cutscene is one of my least favorites just because he's just such a slow walker. So see, the Mage's Staff we picked up earlier, that's being used right here by HolySmith. The reason we like it so much is undead are weak to fire, so it's very good at taking them out. and the animation is far, far faster than that of the Judgment Staff. It takes about half as much time to animate. So if we run into a situation where we need to wipe out a group of enemies, and we don't need the full power of the Judgment Staff, if we can use an item that will achieve the same effect but faster, we're going to go with that. And HolySmith accidentally resetting the timer. I think it's a split timer that's being displayed there. Man, if we were 27 seconds in this far, that'd be a pretty good pace. And now the fun walk back to Cavern of Earth. So after this, we're going to be done with a lot of the back and forth backtracking for a long time. This is the most frustrating double back in the game. And see, xelnas, just with the RNG luck there, was able to pass up HolySmith again. And now he is back in the Cavern of Earth, while HolySmith is still on the walk down there. Yes, of course, I said this version of the game used kind of more traditional magic point system instead of the daily consumable use like you would have in the original game. That's more of kind of a D&D based system. Other quality of life changes are you can buy stacks of items at once instead of having to buy all items one at a time. You can hit the L and R button to just tell every character to try to flee at the same time instead of having to select flee on each character. So those are nice quality of life improvements. But that being said, there's actually not many actual spells we'll be using in the game. We'll mostly be doing item magic. And it looks like HolySmith's timer has been corrected. So the restream is now showing his actual timer instead of the split timer. And HolySmith getting some bad back luck there. Bats are the worst. And xelnas has now reached this tablet that you can only get by with the Earth Rod. The whole to do that backtrack. Now he's working his way through the basement. xelnas working his way through the 4th floor. Not the best route, but it'll get him there. And so the strat HolySmith is using generally is pretty good for large groups of enemies. With just 2 enemies, I probably would have just attempted to run. But he has all of his characters set to flee except for his black mage with that mage's staff. With only 2 enemies, though, I probably would have just gone ahead and tried to run. Alright, xelnas coming up in the first fiend. He's going to take a safety save here. Lich does have a chance on the first turn of casting Blizzara, which, if he does, will most likely one-shot kill your entire party with nothing you can do about it. Let's see what happens. And xelnas gets through that just fine. Our record right now in the tournament is, I'm pretty sure, is getting killed by Blizzara 4 times in a row. And I was the lucky recipient of that. It's a frustrating time loss. Okay, xelnas saying he ran across an ochre jelly. I did not see that, but I probably just wasn't watching at the time. So that's our 1 in 64 encounter. It's one of the more common 1/64 encounters just because we spend so much time in this dungeon. Alright, so xelnas through the cutscene and working way back out. Gonna make our way over to Crescent Lake. Every time we defeat one of the 4 fiends, there's a little kind of after-boss cutscene that shows the unlocking of a bonus dungeon. Those bonus dungeons are actually where you get some of the high-level items we're going to be cheesing ourselves into, but we will not actually be visiting them because we can get the items for free. Generally speaking, we like being in this ocean, especially once we have our Thieves' Armlets. Most of the battles are pretty easily runnable, it's a low encounter rate, and you move very quickly. That being said, this is our least favorite encounter. The big eyes can paralyze characters, and the animation's long, and it generally just takes a while to get away from. So a minor difference you might see in when xelnas and HolySmith park at dock tiles. I believe HolySmith, like a lot of other players, parks pretty as soon as he can on the dock tiles and walks along them because there's a 0% encounter rate along the docks. Whereas xelnas is banking on just the faster ship movement being worth it. So I don't believe either runner's picked up ethers yet, so I expect xelnas, when he gets to Crescent Lake here, to buy some ethers. And we'll also probably be seeing them get some mithril gloves and a mithril axe for item glitching. xelnas going to come talk to a sage here who has a canoe. You cannot receive this canoe from the sage until you have defeated Lich. Otherwise, we actually would have come here earlier, so we could have the airship and the teleport spell before going into the Cavern of Earth. Unfortunately, you have to deal with Lich first. So, otherwise, Lich would probably be our final fiend we fought. So here xelnas is doing an equipment glitch, giving black garbs to lots of our characters. Black garbs, from our Thief Armlet, increase our agility, but increases it by 10 instead of 5. So since we're putting 3 on each character, we're actually going to be increasing the characters that receive it, everyone but the warrior, to an extra 30 agility. Once again, making turns come up faster in battle and making it easier to run. The reason we don't do it to the warrior is simply because the warrior is the only one who can equip the mithril gloves, which are needed to initiate the glitch. And it looks like he's opting to forego the Lust Dagger strats. That strategy has come up more in the last year. xelnas has not been running heavily in the last year, so I'm not sure he's comfortable doing the Lust Dagger route at this point. And it looks like HolySmith will be doing the Lust Dagger route here. So the Lust Dagger further increases speed by 15. So we're going to be equipping it on our mages to give them, once again, earlier turn order, easier chance of running. And the reason it matters for turn order for them is if they do need to use their magic items to wipe out entire groups of enemies, they'll be able to do it more quickly. Also, for an upcoming grinding fight, it makes it much faster and safer. So xelnas in the canoe working his way to the Cavern of Ice. Casually, you're expected to go visit Merilith, the Fiend of Fire, first. The Cavern of Ice is considered too high level at this point casually in the game. And mind you, casually at this point in the game, you're usually much higher level than we are. That means the Cavern of Ice is very, very, very scary. We still have Pisco Demons, which are unrunnable. We have large groups of cockatrices, which can petrify us. We have groups of undead, which can paralyze us. We have Mind Flayers, who can have an attack that has the potential to paralyze the entire party, and their physical attack has instant death that procs with it. We have Dark Wizards. If they ambush you, you are likely to get wiped because they cast Faraga very often. We have White Dragons, who can cast a spell called Ice Storm, which is very dangerous. We have another unrunnable in the Ice Gigas Winter Wolves. The Winter Wolves also can cast Ice Storm, but is not as powerful as the version the White Dragons cast. So all in all, this is a very, very, very scary place. We highly recommend safety saving here. And xelnas trying to run from the Ice Gigas Winter Wolf encounter. This is an unrunnable. And here's those Mind Flayers. Fortunately, we get the first attack. He's just got to kill them to be safe. Does not look like xelnas took a safety save. So he's playing it risky here. So even though we have the Mage's Staff, we're going to go ahead and use the Judgment Staff on the Pisco Demons, simply because their hit points are high enough, and they are actually strong against fire. So, Flare, while it looks like a fire attack, is actually non-elemental. I believe xelnas took a safety save right there. That's good. Choosing the Judgment Staff, the Undead, instead of risking a Paralock. And HolySmith doing the Dark Wizards. Oh, that was close. If he had failed that final run, he probably would have died there. So that was scary. And yet, as Forsyth said, this version of the game is significantly faster, pretty much in almost any category than vanilla FF1. But one difference is the final boss actually is significantly has significantly higher hit points in this version of the game. So a lot of this game boils down to getting ready for the final boss. Chaos is not a joke. Alright, so xelnas has reached the grind fight. So first turn, he's having all his character defense. He's going to keep doing that until his thief and warrior dead. Fortunately, he gets a Thundara cast that kills both of them. And now he can one-shot that evil eye, which can be a repeated encounter, and be able to just repeatedly do that over and over and over, and get his characters up to level 18, sometimes 18 plus 1. We need our mages to be level 19 to learn some spells. And unfortunately, HolySmith had too much health on his warrior there, so he's going to have to go a few extra turns. He probably would have actually gotten himself the lead there otherwise, but it looks like this should probably kill the warrior. Oh no, it missed. So he's having a very frustrating round here. Meanwhile, xelnas is working his way through the grind. For safety, it's recommended that you pick up that levistone as soon as you get through the first battle of the grind, in case you step too far and fall through the ice. There is a secondary grind location if you make that mistake, if you've already picked the levistone. Okay, HolySmith finally getting that warrior dead. As of right, it's very important that you do not heal up your warrior and thief. I was not even aware that the evil eye could cast death like that. But now the grind's going to be going very quickly for HolySmith with that Lust Dagger. And xelnas, since he is going with the more traditional Barbarian Sword route, he's going to go ahead and heal everybody up to full here, and work his way on out over to the desert. xelnas, you see, walk across some spikes right there. If you know that your warrior or thief are too high hit points, that's a spot where you can walk back and forth some with a 0 encounter rate just to bleed off some hit points. So xelnas out of the scary cavern of ice and working his way to the desert to pick up his airship. These canoe encounters are kind of nice. The canoe tiles don't have a very high encounter rate, and every battle is runnable and fairly easily runnable when you're in a canoe. So we don't mind them so much. And we're about to be saying goodbye to our trusty ship. It's been a nice, loyal companion, but we're about to be done with it. So everybody wave goodbye to it. And xelnas activating his levistone, skipping the out of engine movie there, like we could do earlier, and picking up our airship. We like the airship. I mean, no question, we like the airship. It's really fast. There's no encounters in it. Unfortunately, just about everywhere you need to take the airship is a long walk from the landing spot. So here, xelnas not taking a safety save, risking it here in the desert here, There is a sandworm that can attack you there. If he gets an ambush on you, he can cast an earthquake spell that can wipe your entire party. But working our way over the Citadel of Trials to get the stuff we need for our class upgrades and a few other items that are between the upgrade spells and the items we can pick up makes it worth doing this kind of big side quest to get the class upgrades. The 10-15 minutes spent doing this more than pays off for itself. And HolySmith saying goodbye to his ship. It'd be nice if he'd give it back to the pirates somehow. Like he'd carry it back over to Provoke and let them have it back. Okay, so xelnas now entering the Citadel of Trials. The Citadel begins with a teleporter maze. If you're not entirely sure how to get through the teleporter maze, it's pretty simple. If there's more than one teleporter option, always hit the lower one. That'll get you there. Any other will take you back to the beginning. There are two unrunnable encounters in here. One of them is this one. The Minotaur zombies, you have to kill them. The other one would be the Dragon Zombie. That's the rare 164 encounter, other than the one that we're required to fight. There also are some required fights with some nightmares, but those nightmares are they're runnable, but they're very difficult to run from, and we just choose to fight them, and we actually have it built into the XP route. So when we finish fighting the Minotaur zombies at the end of this, we should have both of our mages to level 19. Looks like HolySmith getting some good time back here. He had a good walk over here after the grind. And so it's getting really close now. If it weren't for that rough grind fight, that first fight, HolySmith I think would be in the lead right now. Xelnas getting a very unfortunate ambush there with the Horned Devils. Not as bad as Medusas or those Mind Flayers if they can ambush. But oh, HolySmith takes a wrong teleporter. That's going to cost him. I believe he also would have been the lead if he had not taken that teleporter. So Xelnas fought those nightmares, went up, picked up a healing staff, came back and had to fight the nightmares again because of that spike tile. The healing staff we'll be using later on to create lordly robes, which are going to increase our intelligence and therefore magic damage, or healing power, depending on how we're using our magic. Also picking up some gauntlets. The gauntlets can be used to cast Thundara for free, and they can also be morphed through the equipment glitch into the golden staff, which we'll probably be seeing in the final battle of the game. HolySmith choosing to use the Judgment Staff on the Nightmares here. I think he may have just had the memory cursor on there and forgotten about it. Xelnas getting a scary ambush here with Medusas. Probably going to choose the Judgment Staff for them just to be safe. If all four characters are petrified, it is game over. I had the thief petrified at this point on my first of the tournament and realized I'd forgotten to pick up the gold needles right there. Yeah, Xelnas not having great luck on this trip into the Citadel. Oh, okay. HolySmith in the scariest encounter in the game. Ambush from the Mind Flayers. Okay, he better Judgment Staff them. Mage's Staff. Will Mage's Staff do it? Yes, thankfully. That was really scary. And another ambush. Oh, and he didn't heal between battles. That's... Oh, this is really rough. There's a random chance of instant death on a physical attack from these guys. Okay, probably take this opportunity to go ahead and heal up that thief. Hopefully learns a lesson there. xelnas, now back out on the world map, working his way back to the airship. HolySmith picking up his rat's tail is a key item required to get the class upgrades in a little while from Bahamut. Very low damage roll there. It's rare for the Lust Dagger not to one-shot kill a zombie dragon. xelnas got a little turned around there. He's trying to find... right there, land. Okay, there you go. Trying to find the Dragon Caves here, where you can visit the King of the Dragons, Bahamut, to get his class upgrades. So as we saw there, HolySmith got really close even after the little teleporter snafu, then had a couple of rough encounters, and xelnas was able to pull back, get some of his lead back. You see a lot of that back and forth throughout this game. To put in some perspective how wildly the RNG can mess with you, our best time in the tournament so far was in the 127 range by... Oh, Sandworms carrying on HolySmith's side. Okay, he gets away. But the 127 range by Kibetha, and then in her last race that she had in the tournament so far, she ended up with a 139. So she has a 12-minute spread in her runs on this tournament. So now that xelnas has his character upgrades, he looks like he's going to be going ahead and getting his spells now. So here in Melman, he's going to be picking up Healara for the White Mage. Healara is a mid-level full party heal. He's also picking up Teleport for the Black Mage. Teleport is similar to the exit spell, but a little different. Instead of taking the world map, it takes you to the previous floor on a dungeon. If you are in the, like say, just in a town, not in a shop, actually in the town itself, or the top level dungeon, it will also take you to the world map. But we will be using it to do some backtracking in the dungeon later, and using it similar to the exit spell just to get out of towns as well. We're also going to be picking up the haste spell here. Haste, different other Final Fantasy games, since there is no active time battle system, instead of making your characters have turns quicker, it actually allows your characters to get twice as many hits in per turn, so it basically doubles your physical attack strength. It'll be using the final boss. Now xelnas is in Mount Golg. Mount Golg has a very high encounter rate, but hopefully we won't be seeing many encounters, because we're going to be aiming for our lava tiles. The lava tiles do damage your entire party every step, but that damage is better than taking more encounters. There is a 0 encounter rate on lava tiles, so we're going to aim for those as much as possible. And midway down, we're going to heal up in case we get an ambush by hellhounds, who can cast a fire spell and damage your entire party. If your entire party's at 1 hit points, you get a full party blaze spell, then that's game over. We usually heal right about here. And there he goes. He's using potions, which is a little unusual because he does now have Healara. Might have been better to go and ether up the White Mage and use that to save a little time. And HolySmith putting the Lordly Robes on the White Mage in case we run across some enemies that we can use the Black Robes on. Also makes her healing more powerful. So xelnas, healing up before this fight with Merilith, the Fiend of Fire, was carry in the original version of the game. As long as you're full health, it should be a pretty safe battle. She can cast Spira, which does some pretty good damage, but we should still be able to take her out. But if you do not heal up, she can wipe you here. And Merilith is down. Getting a lot of encounters this trip into the Mount Gulg. It's usually, 1 or 2 encounters, sometimes 0. So HolySmith pretty soon here needs to go ahead and heal up. If he gets ambushed by Hellhounds right here, he could die. Alright, xelnas out of Mount Gulg. Gonna probably work his way over to Desert Caravan. Being a little turned around. Map movement can be a very difficult part of this game, especially as you're learning different routes. You kind of forget how to get to different areas. Alright, and there he goes. The Desert Caravan is a very well hidden area, but in that caravan you have the fairy bottle, which is a key item, and not getting Giant's Tonics. That's unusual. Giant's Tonics are a very important safety item that might be required for the final boss. I don't know if I forgot about it or just doing some YOLO strats, but very unusual. And he's going the wrong way toward Gaia right. Alright, there we go. So, xelnas is a little rusty at the game, so he's having a little map movement issues, but he is a good runner. Not getting the Giant's Tonics, I'll say it takes about 1 second to pick them up, and considering most of the time you do need them, I think it's not worth the risk of not getting them myself. So HolySmith coming up here to Gaia, making up a lot of time on that map movement there. So we released that fairy in the bottle here in the Village of Gaia, which we then went and visited the fairy that we released and got the Oxyale, which allows us to breathe underwater, which we need to go visit Kraken, the Fiend of Water, and the Sunken Shrine in the Village of Onrak. Okay, xelnas going back for those Giant's Tonics. Alright. Realize what he did. I'm glad to see him do that. That was scary. Getting a little lost here. He was in the right area now. So, HolySmith, using this better map movement, is going to go ahead and get to on rack first, looks like. So here's the hard menu where you have to select yes instead of no on HolySmith's side. And he gets it. As we want to go save the mermaids. Interestingly enough, we are not going to save the mermaids. We're gonna go to where they are and just kind of ignore them. So this is kind of a forked dungeon. There are lots of unrunnables here. There are Sahagin Prince Chief encounters, there are ghosts, and there are water elementals, which are unrunnable unless they are paired with the water naga. It's only 3 unrunnable encounters, but they both have very high. All 3 of them have very high odds of occurring. And we have to go to the very top of the shrine to pick up the Rosetta Stone, which is a key item needed to learn the language Lufinian, so we can get another key item later in the game. But the bottom of the dungeon is actually where Kraken is, so we're going to get to use teleport here in a minute. Total Chaos 3 is just simply the name of the tournament. The final boss is named Chaos, so we call the tournament Total Chaos Tournament. It's the 3rd year we've had it. So HolySmith picking up the Rosetta Stone here as xelnas comes into the Sunken Shrine. And we're going to see the first use of teleport here. Since this is going to take us to the previous floor, so we're going to use it twice in a row here. And now we're going to go to the bottom of the dungeon to meet up our favorite cape-wearing, 8-legged fiend. Kraken is not generally a threat to us. He has strong physical attacks, but with us stacking 3 sets of armor, we're basically immune to physical attacks. But he looks good while losing the fight, so there's something to be said for the fashion. And xelnas trying to run from some ghosts. There you go. So here in the Sunken Shrine, all 3 of our unrunnables use different items for fastest destruction. In the Sunken Shrine, we're generally going to be using Judgment Staves on Water Elementals. We're going to be using Gauntlets on Sahagin Prince Chief encounters, and we're going to be using the Mage's Staff on Ghosts. So this is where you also have to know what enemies are weak to what magic. Helps a lot. HolySmith going to the right side of this chest to pick up the right light axe. The other 2 tiles around it, both the spike tiles. Forced encounters. So we're putting on some survival vests here and some lordly robes. So far in the game, we haven't been putting anything in the shield slot because lots of items don't have parry animations tied to them, and if you actually block with something that's not a shield, it can cause a soft lock. But fortunately, the lordly robes, survival vests, and ribbon all, for some reason, have a parry animation, so it's safe to put them on the shield slot. The survival vest will give us 15 speed each, so once again, faster, easier run from battle, all good things. The lordly robe increases our intelligence, and we're going to put that on our white mage to increase her healing ability and to make her item magic more powerful. She actually does have good enough item magic now. She can take out the water elementals with the black robes instead of the Judgment Staff. So Xelnas having a pretty good Sunken Shrine so far. Making up some of that time he lost to the map. Meanwhile, HolySmith is coming up upon Kraken. Like I said earlier, Kraken is not really a threat. We usually don't bother to heal. We just go in there and fight him. He is by far the least dangerous of the four fiends. So here we go with Kraken. Easy fight, easy fight. Alrighty. These cutscenes, well, they can be a little frustrating when you're just trying to click through them. They can be a nice little mental break where you just don't have to do anything. Alright, so now that HolySmith is back out of the Sunken Shrine, he's going to be going up to the Waterfall Cavern, which is right up here. We actually could have gone here earlier, but it's a very high encounter rate, and it's better to come in here with the survival vests. Easier to run from the nightmares. Before we get survival vests, it's best just to fight them, but now that we have them, it's pretty easy to run from them. This last time we really have to worry about petrification, so it's kind of the end of our, RPG Jerkbird section with the cockatrices and the pyralisks, because after this battle we'll still run across them, but we will have ribbons after this cavern. Yes, HolySmith did manage to retake the lead. He had a little better Sunken Shrine, and there were some map movement issues that xelnas had that lost him some time. As I said, this Waterfall Cavern has a very high encounter. These pyralisks are like the cockatrices' big brothers that are even worse, because they can also instantly kill you. xelnas ran across the Ice Kicker's Winter Wolf encounter. He's going to need to fight this one. Alright, HolySmith picking up some ribbons there, or a ribbon. So this time we want more ribbons, but we only have one of them. Or to duplicate items, we're actually going to use the ribbon to create an item called the Gigantac, which we will then glitch into a ribbon. The ribbon not only gives us status immunity like in other games in the series, it also gives us high elemental defense. It does not stack though, but we will need it for the final boss, who has a lot of high damage elemental spells. So for those in chat blaming Fiesel on things, Fiesel awesome network in which to do these races. If you haven't, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to at least one Speed Gaming channel, and make sure to follow our runners, xelnas and HolySmith. They work hard to put on these shows. So HolySmith is going to take that Rosetta Stone to Dr. Un here and learn to speak Lufinian, which is the Final Fantasy version of Pig Latin, apparently, because you can learn it in about 10 seconds. And yes, HolySmith and xelnas will be having a rematch immediately following this race. I think Reyna is going to take over for commentary on that race. And HolySmith trying to find his way to Lufinia. xelnas picking up his warp cube and ribbons. So once again, we had to park really far from our objective here and walk a long way. Here in this walk, there is a high chance of running into Minotaur zombie encounters, which are unrunnable. There also can be high numbers of winter wolves, which can cast Ice Storm, which, now that we have ribbons, is not a huge danger to us, especially since it's a weaker version than what, say, a White Dragon will cast. But the animation time can be very long, and if you get ambushed by 9 of them that all cast it, the damage does add up. So this is where having the white mage with a couple sets of lordly robes really pays off. You tend to run into lots of these encounters here, and having half the animation time of the judgment staff is nice. But without those lordly robes, the mage's staff would not be powerful enough. Unfortunately, HolySmith has a little brain fart, tries to run from this encounter. He's going to take a turn of damage here. So xelnas is learning Lufinian. HolySmith is going to be walking into Lufinia itself. This place is a civil engineering disaster. If there's ever a big fire in town, people will be in trouble because the walkways are not nearly wide enough, and there's lots of potential for NPCs to block your path. HolySmith gets a minor block. It can be much, much worse than that here. So teleporting out of Lufinia and working our way back to the airship. While xelnas is trying to find the landing spot for Lufinia. It's very easy to get lost in the world map in this game. It's it's a pretty big game world, and then lots of it is just oceans. It's just blue in every direction. It's hard to tell where you are. Would be kind of nice sometimes if on this version of the game it let the map zoom out further while you're in the airship. So HolySmith's going to come right over here to the desert and go visit Mirage Tower. The chime we picked up in Lufinia will allow us to enter the tower, and the warp cube will let us exit out the top of the tower into the flying fortress. That warp cube is what we picked up in the Waterfall Cavern. The Mirage Tower, along with the Waterfall Cavern, has some of the highest encounter rates of the game. Fortunately, there's only one unrunnable encounter here, and it's a 1/64 chance. That is the Blue Dragon. There is one required Blue Dragon fight, so we're not counting that as the 1/64. There also is a very, very minor chance of running into a vampire. A group of vampires are runnable, a single vampire is not, because it's still flagged as the mini-boss fight from earlier in the game. And that's true of lots of the unrunnable encounters. There will be a spike tile somewhere in the game that's unrunnable, and all variations of that particular enemy formation are flagged as unrunnable. Xelnas having a very good walk down to Lufinia. So you can see here on Xelnas' screen, fighting all of these enemies instead of using the staff takes a little time. And HolySmith reaching the blue dragon here. Like most mini-bosses, very, very easy fight. Uses that warp cube and gets into the Flying Fortress. The Flying Fortress has one unrunnable encounter. In the Evil Eye, the same one we used for the grind fight earlier. Also, the top floor here has a hype enemy we're hoping to see as our 1 in 64 encounter, and that is Warmech. Can we get some Warmech hype in the chat? Air elementals are the only elementals you can run from. And HolySmith is now on the Warmech floor. Come on, Warmech. We have an encounter, and it's air elementals. Boo. Alright, so Tiamat here does have a Thunderbolt spell that can do a lot of damage, but looks like we're mostly pretty good. At this point, we really need to start paying attention to our character's health. Our Ninja and our Black Mage specifically. Our Black Mage is pretty low health right now. We will most likely be using Giant's Tonic on him, and really, the Ninja under 300 or so, you probably want to Giant's Tonic him for the final battle. The Giant's Tonics increase your hit point pool by 200 for the duration of one battle. So on the final boss, he has some powerful magic spells that can do 250 or so damage to the Black Mage and a little over 300 for the Ninja. So if your hit point pool is not high enough to ever be able to tank that, it can be very, very troublesome. Hit points are given kind of randomly throughout the game, and the Ninja and Black Mage specifically are going to have trouble getting high enough level consistently to have enough hit points to tank those hits. So that's why I picked those Giant's Tonics in the Desert Caravan. So HolySmith has finished all 4 fiends, Earth, Fire, Air, and Water. Now gonna go visit the Chaos Shrine again. The first dungeon is also the last one. Meanwhile, Xelnas looking for his Warmech hype. Alright. xelnas getting a Thunderbolt cast. Looks like his guy should be okay with it. Yeah. And HolySmith running across the Purple Worm. One of many, many unrunnables here in the shrine. The thing we're mostly looking out for, though, is White Dragons. They are runnable, but they're very dangerous. And ambush from the White Dragons. This is scary. Fortunately, they all three choose to attack. The HolySmith's going to go ahead and run. If they had all three cast Ice Storm, he may have chosen to kill them instead. Just to be safe. Black Knights are runnable. Unrunnable here, we have the Purple Worm, we have the Green Dragons, we have the Zombie Dragons, we have the Ice Gigas Winter Wolves, we have Purple Worms, we have Earth Elementals, we have Fire Elementals, we have Water Elementals, and I'm sure I'm forgetting something else too. And unfortunately no Warmech today, but possibly the next race, so stay tuned. So HolySmith there using the loot that we picked up at the beginning of the game. HolySmith taking a wrong turn here. And coming across some zombie dragons. He needs to go to the top left. Well, on the screen, you see this little cutscene with this guy going into this extra door over here. You do not want to go that way if you're just trying to finish the game. That actually leads to the final bonus dungeon, the Labyrinth of Time, which is not something that our characters are going to be dealing with today. For those interested in the plot, we have actually gone back in time to fight Garland when he was at his strongest, and we're going to be meeting the Four Fiends again in their younger, stronger days. And HolySmith is now on the first of the 4 elemental floors. So this is kind of a souped up version of the Cavern of Earth. These clay golems are annoying, especially in the ambush, because the haste animation takes some time. So this is where having the different, on the screen, this is where having the different spell items will be useful. For instance, the white robes will take out the green dragons. Much faster animation than with the Judgment Staff. HolySmith's going to go ahead and take a save here, in case this refight with Lich goes poorly. Lich can, once again, is the most dangerous of the 4 fiends. He can cast Flare. I was going to say, not much use in attacking with the mages there, but the white mage does get the kill on Lich. So, proving me wrong. Yeah, xelnas is having a rough first couple of floors here. HolySmith wasn't great, but xelnas is just getting destroyed by these green dragons, just constantly attacking him. Well, they hyped to the first use of Speed Gaming 5, I believe, yesterday. Fiesel's poor internet. So Merilith is down. So now HolySmith is going to be going to the water floor. This is probably the most frustrating of the 4 Fiend floors, because it's a little longer than some of the others, and there's a high chance of these water elementals, which are unrunnable. So Black Garb is what you want to use on these. Black Robe, rather. And xelnas, from the Ice Gigas Winter Wolf encounter, for that he's going to be using a physical attack on the 2 Ice Gigases, and then the Judgment Staff to take out the rest of them. Now, a White Mage can take them all out with just a Judgment Staff if she has 2 sets of Lordly Robes. HolySmith getting lots of these water elementals, very frustrating. And hello, Emily Miku Dance. We are doing great. Alrighty, and HolySmith on Kraken. Once again, the least dangerous of the 4. Could be using haste here on the ninja. So ninja is going to hit like a truck this next turn. Yeah, almost 2,000 damage because of that haste spell. Doubles his physical attacks. xelnas having Earth Elementals. xelnas is just getting all of the unrunnables. It's very frustrating. And HolySmith is definitely going to need to use Judgment Staffs on his Black Mage, and to play it safe, I would go ahead at 289. I would probably go ahead and do on the Ninja as well. If I was trying to get a PB and it was close, I might not at 289, but on a race, I would go ahead and probably go ahead and use that Giant's Tonic. Alright, so HolySmith is done with random encounters. Going to be doing our final menu of the game here. Going to be doing some, using some ethers on the White Mage to get her magic up. The ninja, I did not see if the ninja got haste. I guess he did. He's going to go ahead and make sure there's a ribbon on every character for these elemental attacks. He's doing the menu backwards. There he goes. Realized it. Okay, you got the Golden Staff. The Golden Staff is going to increase our magic ability for the White Mage. Also, putting clothes on the armor slot instead of survival vest. We need the White Mage to go last every turn. That way, Chaos never gets 2 attacks in a row off. Every round, we want the White Mage to go last, because we don't want her to accidentally outrun Chaos, have him attack, then have him attack again the next turn before she gets to go. So we always want her to go last. Come on, Android version of FF7 is the best, guys. Android ports of Square games are always the best. Alright, so the haste being cast on our ninja and our warrior. Gonna go ahead and make them double their attacks. We put the Giant's Tonic on the Black Mage. Give him the extra 200 hit points. White Mage gonna be healing every turn. And now that all three characters but the White Mage have haste cast on them, they're gonna be attacking every turn for the rest of the game. So we're hoping just to kind of get to hold X to win strats. Yeah, HolySmith did forget to put the Barbarian Sword on the Black Mage. So at this point, I would probably, just to save time, put the Black Mage on defense. Really close call there with the Ninja. If he cast Cyclone here, it might kill the Ninja. Okay, fortunately it was just a physical attack, so we're probably good. Physical attacks what we want to see. The animation's fast, and it's not really that dangerous unless it's a critical on our White Mage. Our goal is to kill him before he casts Curage on himself for 9999 hit points. Here comes the Cyclone. The Ninja might be in danger, but we're enough along that we... Xelnas is through Kraken 2. And I think HolySmith has this. And there we go. GG HolySmith. 138.04. Xelnas most of the way now through the Tiamat fight. Yeah, reason the Black Mage wasn't doing a lot of damage there, just HolySmith forgot to put the Barbarian Sword on him, but he made it through just fine and got himself a good win. Alrighty, Xelna's working his way through this final menu. He was running Barbarian Sword route, so he should already have Barbarian Swords on his characters. And for those of you who do not know, HolySmith is doing a rematch immediately after this race, so we're not going to bring them in for interviews just yet. We got started a little late, so the second race was supposed to have already started a few minutes ago. So we're going to go ahead and just let them finish up, take a quick break, and then come back and do another race. And go ahead and play it safe, putting Giant's Tonic on both the Black Mage and the Ninja. Black Mage may not need it. Over 225 is kind of where is like kind of a hard line, but you might as well just play it safe. And so, generally with Chaos' spells, the longer the animation, the more power, the more damage it does. And unfortunately, we lost our ninja there. So he's going to have to do it without the ninja. It is doable. Oh, is he going to try to heal him? That's risky. So he has to hope there's not a full party attack here. Alright. And he got lucky and was able to get xelnas back up. So, was able to get the ninja back up. So things are looking smooth now. And this was a powerful spell, but our characters are high enough hit points that they should be fine here. Earthquake actually does no damage with the ribbons. Alrighty, and GG to xelnas. Unfortunately, I do not have the SRL open, so I do not know his actual time. But GG, he had some rough patches there, some really rotten luck in Chaos Shrine and a few other places, but good job overall. It's a solid race. And in just a minute, I'm going to be bowing out. We're going to have some other commentators come in just a minute. And xelnas and HolySmith will be having a rematch. So give them just a few minutes. And we will be back with y'all real soon.